to the April Capit Learning Community. We are going to hear from JFF about leveraging partnerships, some internal, external, all kinds of different pieces. But first I wanted to hit a couple of ICCB update information sharing kind of things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully this all works. So are you all seeing my AGS Prime screen? It says, welcome to the Capit ICCB
Yes.
Capit program system.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
It doesn't say AGS Prime, but it is. So a couple of, I know we've been talking about numbers and comparison numbers to what's in AGS Prime compared to what you're showing in your quarterly reports. And so I wanted to point out two different reports in AGS Prime to make sure you're aware of where they are. They're both in this reports button up here at the top. And then there's two, there's a participant checkpoints and there's a performance outcome measures. So the participant checkpoints, you click on that green box, run the report, and then you have to, and you're only going to pull up your numbers, but because we're ICCB, we get to pull up everybody's numbers. So we get to wait a minute till it pulls up because we're pulling lots of numbers, which is good. We're seeing an increase in numbers, an increase in data in AGS Prime, which is what we all need, which we're happy to see. Who am I going to pick on? I'm going to pick on Kishwaukee. So when you go into your college, all of the different programs that you offer will be listed. Each of these items is an individual student. So if you know that you really have 58 students in Google IT, Amanda's going to go, where are the other 4? Why are they missing? Or you go the other direction. How did I end up with extra students? So you can click on this. It'll give you a list of all of the students. And then you scroll over here and you see check marks, red X's, and check marks. Some of these red X's are correct. Some of these red X's are supposed to be red X's. So do not panic when you see a whole screen of red X's. Because, for example, exited the program, if they're still with you, that should be a red X because they haven't exited yet, and that's okay. Some of these enrolled in training, this particular column is all about apprentices. This doesn't just mean you have a training enrolled. So your pre-apprentices that have a training are not going to show up in this. This is apprenticeship based. And there's a couple of pieces that have to go into this. And during our AGS Prime mini sessions that several of you requested and used, we've gone over some of these and helped figure out why is this a red X or why is it, where is this? This should all be in there and what's missing and walk you through everything. So if you've got questions, we can definitely set that up. So this is one report that I wanted to show you to help you figure out maybe, like when I said Amanda said she should have 58 and she's only got 54, who's maybe missing? What's this look like? Where are some of these mistakes coming in? The other report that I want to show you is this performance measures outcomes. This shows you what's counting towards ICCB money lines that are getting turned into DOL. So in this, you've got to fill in the Capit. Again, I'm going to pick on Kishwaukee. By the way, I did ask Amanda and she gave me permission to pick on her. So you guys will just see your own list. Remember, this is calendar year. So right now a lot of everything we do in academic world is based off of fiscal years. AGS Prime is based off of calendar year. So right now we're in calendar year 2022. And the quarter we're looking at, if you look at January through March, which is what we consider as part of the grant third quarter in the fiscal year, it's really the first quarter in the calendar year. You run that report. Dun, 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 dun. You wait patiently while the little circle spins and it pops up down here in the corner in Excel. So you'll have reds and greens. So you should have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and a total. You are seeing all of this still, right? Okay, good. So, in year 1, they were supposed to have 25. They only had 19, so that was a red. That's okay. Because year 2, they're supposed to have 26 and 46. They had so that's really more than double. So they had 177% for year 2. Year 3, where we are right now, they're already over. Year 4, so this total number, overall, they are supposed to have 109. And right now, they're sitting with 165. So we know that measure is going to be hit by them. They could stop enrolling participants, but they're not going to. And they could still hit this number because it's there right now. Don't stop enrolling, Amanda. So then you look at all of these other lines.
No stopping.
So that's where these, you can take a look and see where these are and what these look like. So when I've pulled numbers and shared them out in comparison to your second quarter report, these are the numbers that I pulled from this report for Kishwaukee. I went into city colleges and pulled their numbers. I went into Joliet and I pulled those numbers. So these are individual numbers by college where you're currently sitting with your numbers. So again, it was fairly easy. It's in reports and then your performance measures, you click on the green button, fill in the information and you go. We could, I'm going to close this. I'm going to go in and do this as quarter two, because right now we're in April, which is into quarter two. And hopefully, because Amanda's smart and didn't stop enrolling, maybe she has a couple more participants to add to that list. So it's not based on just, this can be real-time data. It does not have to be just where the last quarter ended. It can be, so, nope, that number didn't change, but that's okay. We're only 2 weeks into April, so it's not a big deal. But when I go in and I pull numbers to compare, I want to compare quarter to quarter, not today to quarter, because that'll be different. So that's where those are. There's a couple of things that you need to notice in the unemployed and underemployed. It talks about those who have completed the education program, and incumbent worker is the same, those who complete the apprenticeship program in advance. So you may have 15 incumbent workers right now enrolled, but they haven't completed yet. So on your quarter three report, when you turn that in, plug in the number where it goes, and then on the side, make a note, 15 are currently enrolled. The anticipated completion date is April 25. And that just gives me more information to know, oh, okay, these are enrolled, they're happening, but they haven't completed yet. So that's why there's a discrepancy there. And that's okay, because if it shows up as 0 and Amanda turns in 15 on her report, I'm going to get a hold of Amanda and go, where's your other 15 students? What are we missing? How are they not in AGS Prime? Well, reality is they are in AGS Prime. They just haven't completed yet. And so we just need to wait and be patient. So some of these will come along later. And that's the same way with the unemployed and underemployed. These 4 have completed a program. They may have 25 more students that started as unemployed, but they haven't completed the apprenticeship yet. So they're not in this rolled up number yet. So that any of those kinds of notes that you want to add to the second quarter template that you send to us, that's got your fiscal and all of your quarterly tabs in that one report, that will help us better see what's happening. Because if we don't have notes, all we can do is assume that they don't exist, which we don't want to assume they don't exist. We want to find out what's going on. So if you can add that information, that'll save an email exchange on figuring out what's going on. Questions on either of those 2 reports at this point? Yes, Rebecca, you should be able to, and everybody can unmute and speak. Yes. Wait, Rebecca, you're still muted.
Okay. I've been talking to my colleges about number 6. Number 6 is most of the, I don't see that we're going to make number 5, which are real apprentices and new hires. We'll have some people, but not a lot. What we're going to have is we should have a lot of numbers in incumbent workers down there. They may not, because we've gone over this again, is that most of that, so I'm going to take Amanda and Kish, most of the 22 up there, or 51 that have been in a program, and you got 7 actually completed. You should have 7, probably close to 7 down in number 6, because those are incumbent. I would imagine they're mostly incumbent workers. So, so make sure that you remember that, because 3 and 4 will be pretty much it. So they should be the same, because you gave them a certificate, they completed for number 3, and you gave them at least a certificate or something of completion from Kishwaukee. So those numbers should be pretty much the same, because you would have given them something. And then, so I would check number 4 about why is that only 6. The other one is then number 7, which says you advance to a new position. You might keep the same position, but they give you, because you completed this course, this whatever this apprenticeship is, they will give you other things to do. They may not rewrite the job description, because as we all know, and you know, everybody loves rewriting job descriptions, and it happens every day. No, that's not what happens. They hate writing job descriptions, so you probably won't get a new job description, but you'll get extra things to do. You won't get more pay. It's like being in a community college. They just give you extra stuff for no pay, and it's just now part of your job. So be careful about not, let me put it positively. You have numbers that you should be counting in number 6 for incumbent workers. Please count them, because that number we should blow away. We should just, that should be just, we should just, we're not going to do well on 5, but 6, we should just blow it out of the water. So
and the advance into a new position, that was original wording that the DOL has not changed, but they have loosened it, because it may not, like Rebecca said, it may not be a new position, but you may get a pay raise. If you can somehow document that, and it can be as simple as a student coming in and telling you, hey, now I do these skills 3 days a week. You can document that in case notes. So if in AGS Prime, in case there's a question about it, and then just make sure that you're documenting at the bottom when you're doing the complete an apprenticeship. If you've marked them as an incumbent worker on that screen, there are additional boxes that pop up for advanced or changed positions, and that may not change till the next quarter. So it may be that they've completed, but maybe they haven't advanced yet, because maybe it happened at the end of March and they just haven't come back and told you, and it's 2 weeks later. And now they come back in April and tell you. So then you can go back, and they won't show up in the March numbers, but they will show up in the April numbers, So some of these are going to be a residual increase as we go. They won't show up day one.
Yeah, but
the Department of Labor is supposed to be sending us at ICCB and all of the others across the country the new performance manual, which would have an updated revised revised definition for incumbent worker. We don't have that yet. It's not out yet. Yeah. But they, as Angela said, they have loosened it greatly. Mm-hmm. So they're using their skills on their existing job fine.
Yep. And don't forget, this is a way for you to tell everybody this number, and I'm sure you've beat 14, Amanda, is that you tell everybody how well you're doing, what you're doing, and for the benefit of incumbent workers. So you want to document that. So please document it. So anyway, so that we can know, ICCB can know, and so can the feds, how well you're doing, because some of you are doing exceptionally well.
Yep. So the only other piece that I will tell you is Todd Jorns, who has been on the AGS Prime mini sessions with all of us, has been keeping a list of notes of errors that we found and some regularly things. One of the key, most relevant things that we constantly find issues with are dates. That the wrong year gets plugged in, or it's a day before the apprenticeship starts, and so it kicks it out. And so there's just, and it's to no one's fault. It's just when you're plugging in dates for this number of students, it just really easily gets lost. So I have a document from Todd that has all of the notes from what we have seen with the last several AGS Prime sessions that we've done, that I will be sending out to all of you. It is not the 90 data points thing that we had sent out before. It's more specific to those. So when you get that, don't be overwhelmed by it. Take a look at it. Take a look at it in small pieces. If you want us to go through it with you, we can. Email Todd, whatever. But we want to share that with you so you can see when you're plugging in information. Oh, maybe that's where I'm stuck. Oh, well, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe that's where I'm stuck. So we will send that out after this meeting so you can see it. But I wanted to explain to you what I was sending you before you got it and went, huh? What is all this that you're giving? I don't know what this is. So, all right. You're all really quiet today. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe it's the weather. So I am going to turn it over to Cassandra and Scott with JFF and their friend Melissa, and I will shut up and let them go.
Thank you so much, Angela, and good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy Eve of Friday Eve. And so I hope that wherever you are in Illinois, it's a little overcast and rainy here, but at least we're headed towards spring. I heard birds this morning, so I'm hopeful. And so thanks for joining us today. We're going to be leaning into the topic that several colleges have mentioned to us that they really want to try to explore a little further. And that's talking about how to leverage your internal partners for program success. And so I'm Cassandra McGee. I'm Senior Program Manager with JFF. I've been with JFF for about 3 years. Prior to joining JFF, I've worked inside government. I've taught at 4-year institutions, including Aurora University. I've also worked within 3 community colleges in Illinois, Rock Valley College, City Colleges of Chicago as a director there for career planning and placement, as well as managing a WIOA program with Wabanzi Community College. So the space of working within 2-year and 4-year institutions is very familiar for me. I understand some of those ease as well as challenges of navigating internal partners. And we'll be talking about some of the ways that we've leveraged those things across our personal experiences. We would love to hear from you. This is a conversation. We're just going to share some things that we've found to be useful, but always feel free to jump in and put things in chat. We'll have time for Q&A as well. And so I'll be joined today in leading the discussion by Melissa McGregor, who's Associate Director with JFF, as well as the person you know and love, Scott Ellsworth, who's the consultant with us as well. And so Melissa, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then Scott, and then we'll dive in. Melissa.
Thanks so much, Cassandra. And as Cassandra just said, I'm an associate director at JFF in the Center for Apprenticeships and Work-Based Learning. And I have previous experience working with Dr. Rebecca Lake. I see her on the call this morning at Harper College. So in terms of developing, implementing, and kind of launching an apprenticeship program within a community college, I have some subject matter expertise on that I would love to share with you this morning.
Of course, as you all know, I'm Scott Ellsworth, longtime listener, first-time caller. Just here to help.
Okay, and so Melissa, thanks for driving ship today. So a little bit about JFF. We've been in existence for over 35 years. We're a nonprofit, and we're really dedicated and focused on making sure that our workforce system works equitably for all individuals. And so we sit at the intersection of working with higher education institutions, government at state and local and federal levels, as well as all key stakeholders in the workforce development system of making sure that we have equitable solutions for all those are invested in workforce, from workers to systems, as well as to learners. And so next slide, please, Melissa. So our agenda today, we'll be having this conversation about one shared mission, and this comes directly from ICCB's website, one shared mission for all Illinois community colleges, as well as having a working definition of what stakeholder engagement is for our discussion today. Then we'll talk about some strategies for leveraging internal partners. And again, there will be time for question and answer, but feel free to pop in and chat to put your questions and comments there as well. So workshop disclaimer, I like to set our expectations up front. So as we move through the discussion today, please keep a few key things in mind. First of all, every college is unique. Every college I've worked at and every organization, I'm sure we can all say, has its own culture, its own set of politics, its own staffing and goals. And then our discussion is really about relationship building. And as with any relationship, buy-in and trust is developed not just over time, but over experience. And those experiences, typically when they are involving reciprocity or mutually beneficial ROI, that's when relationships basically really are built in an effective way and are sustainable. And lastly, you are the expert. As much as we're going to talk about our experience and some wins that we found, some challenges that we've been able to overcome, really for your institution and where you sit, you're the expert in what's going to work and what's not going to work. So we just hope that basically, as you guys are already in year 3 of this project, internal stakeholder engagement has hopefully been top of mind for you. So we want to hear from you as well, as far as what solutions have worked to help share with your colleagues, as well as perhaps you may learn some different things that you may be able to lean into for year 3 and then year 4. And so next slide, please. So one shared mission, although each of your colleges might have individual goals or plans or initiatives, one shared mission is really foundational for all community colleges in Illinois, and that is to provide adult literacy and continuing education services, as well as to prepare people for college and then transfer to typically 4-year institutions. And then ultimately, it's really about getting people to good jobs that demand high skills. I used to tell my staff that the only reason why we have the privilege of meeting our students is because they have agreed that education is a solution to their economic gains. So really basically the overarching and true north of this is that we have a common goal, regardless of what the departments at your college may have individual goals or focuses are. The common goal for all of us is really about effectively preparing people to be successful in the workforce. So that means that CAPIT is not just your specific goal for your team, it's an institution-wide goal. So it's really about engaging stakeholders in order to help you implement this solution that is focused on institutional solution. And so therefore collaboration and effectively engaging those stakeholders. And today we're just talking specifically about internal stakeholders should be top of mind for all of us. So next slide, please, ma'am. If you hear me say ma'am, trust me, it's a Southernism. I was raised by Southerners. So our working definition of what we'll talk about for stakeholder engagement today, one of the key things to note here is that this definition, which I really like, is focused on engagement as a layered process, which means it's beyond one conversation. We talked about that before, because it's about a relationship. It's about a journey that happens over time and experience. And in this engagement, it's about listening to, collaborating with, and informing your audience. And your audience, of course, is going to be those different internal stakeholders and different departments, different partners within your college. So it's also key to note that each individual in those departments or each department might be at a different level of engagement with you. So one team that I had a team of about 70 individuals. And I had to realize that even though I started with this team, I didn't have any new hires the first 6 months of me taking over the project. Each of them was going to be at a different level of engagement and trust with me, regardless of when I started to work with them. It's going to be the exact same thing with those that you engage across your organization and across your college. That means too, that we'll talk a little further about engagement strategies and how to prioritize your outreach to them based upon what level of engagement that you might be with. So if you're looking at this definition, hopefully it resonates with you about identifying and mapping and prioritizing, as well as listening to your audience, collaborating with them, and informing them. So the next slide, basically we'll be talking a little bit and leaning into a conversation about leveraging internal partners and what those strategies might be. So we'll be focusing on what your value proposition is, looking at investments, as well as outreach strategies. And then of course you want to be able to effectively manage this process of engagement of your internal partners. So one of the key things to note here about value proposition is that it's important for you, and I know we spent a lot of time in previous discussions and sessions about being able to articulate and clearly know exactly what the product is that you're pitching or exactly what your program is. And the why behind that is because typically you're going to be the expert in the room. A lot of people that you're going to be talking to internally may not have heard about work-based learning, apprenticeship, training programs. So you have to make sure that it's clear, that it's simple enough for them to understand, because guess what? they're going to be touching the stakeholders that you want to engage, potential apprentices. Sometimes too, they're going to be touching community-based organizations or faith-based organizations, employers, and you want to be able for them to help pitch this to the stakeholders that you're trying to engage. Think of this as typically when I was talking to employers and trying to get them to work with our college or institutions, I would tell them to view me as a free external arm of your human resources department. So view internal stakeholders basically as an extension of your project team, which means they need to have a clear, concise way to articulate what your goals are, what the project and what the program is, in order to be able to help get investors to you. Also, basically, it's really about articulating how this is beyond my team's responsibility or my team's basically lift. Is really about how this initiative impacts both the institution's goals as well as the one shared mission of Illinois community colleges. And then also, basically, as with any conversation, is about knowing your audience, knowing what their project goals specific might be to their department, as well as knowing basically what relationship stage you might be in with that stakeholder. That's really going to drive how you tailor that specific message. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Melissa, who'll be talking about different messages for different audiences. So Melissa.
Thanks, Cassandra. So, we're all used to going out into the community and kind of switching the way that we're speaking about the apprenticeship based on if we're talking to employers or if we're talking to candidates, students, and the same thing has to happen internally. So when you're talking with your internal stakeholders, you really want to make sure that everyone within the college is aware that you're doing a program, right? That the apprenticeship program exists, where it is, how students can apply. If a candidate for the program is approaching your admissions department, someone in admissions needs to be able to speak intelligently about the apprenticeship program. They need to at least know where to send students or even employers if they happen to be on your campus, where the program is located, who they should talk to, what are the steps to get involved, point them in the direction where they can find some additional information. In the same way, when you're talking to apprentice candidates, as I just said, your message has to be about how this is an opportunity for them to build their career. They're going to get guaranteed employment. It's if your program is being completely funded by employers, then you can talk about how there's going to be zero debt. They're going to gain skills, and in the program with 2 to 3 years of experience, a certificate from the Department of Labor, and a degree or certificate from the college. So that's just kind of one way to speak about the program that's different from the things that you might say to an employer. So then I'm going to turn it back over.
Okay, thanks so much, Melissa. And so now we're going to talk about investments. And again, basically, since our unified goal is student success and that true north of that one shared mission, then each person at your college is a potential investor. I'm going to put potential because we know that their goals should align with student success, but sometimes they don't clearly see basically how an initiative perhaps outside of their department basically is a clear alignment for collaboration opportunities. So what you really want to do is start making a full list of internal departments, and we shared a list or a kind of a cheat sheet as a checklist as to how to do that, and we'll look at that a little bit. But you really want to focus on, yes, this is a now initiative, a capitative initiative, but you really want to build a relationship beyond the initiative. And it's because sometimes, put it this way, have you ever basically had a person in your life that the only time that they connected with you is because they wanted something? And so when you saw the email pop up or the phone call come, you're kind of looking like, because you already know basically it's going to be an ask, and that's the only time you hear from this person. So you want to build a relationship not just on the ask, but on the give, and how really this is about collaboration for the overall mission of the college, as well as for that one shared mission. So you want to look at that mutual beneficial ROI, their return on investment. So being able to speak to how collaboration is beneficial. So we can agree that basically that is more challenging or difficult to lift something by yourself, then it's really about focusing on how us collaborating, not just for this initiative, but perhaps other initiatives that your department is doing, is going to be able to help each other. So being clear about what you're going to give in this relationship, as well as what you're asking from the person, and then opening the door for further discussion on both sides. So Melissa will talk a little bit about key departments within community colleges and how they're potential investors for the Capita Initiative and beyond.
So 100%. This is, everyone at the college is invested, should be invested in this program, and your job as kind of the grant or the apprenticeship office is not to run the whole program and do everything and make yourself crazy. It's to kind of lift and fit the program into its place within the college so that it runs without your constant oversight, and you can step back and do one piece of it. So everyone has to be involved. Who has a community relations department or person, and what are they telling the folks that they know, and who has an IR department, and what data are they sharing with you about your local labor market, and who has an admissions department, and are they recruiting the apprentice candidates for the program. So the idea is to use the people within the college to promote and to deliver the program. The apprenticeship program is a college offering, not a grant that's going to go away in 3 years. To make this sustainable, everyone should take part in it somehow. So IT can set up ways to code your apprentices for easy access to data and demographics. Your data is going to tell a compelling story, and you can share that data with employers to talk about, here's the number of employers who are participating, and any other stakeholders, right? Program coordinators or people who are the faculty members involved in building and changing the curriculum, you're going to need them. The college president needs to know how the program is doing so that she or he can take that message into their conversations with employers and donors and committees and the board. The registrar can assist you in batch registering the students. Anyone who's coded as an apprentice under IT for the courses that they need next, they can just get registered without you having to do that. Student finances can put the apprentices on third-party billing. They can manage that whole process for you. Marketing can create campaigns and social media postings and brochures for you to take on business calls. And I really can't stress the importance of partnering with your marketing department early on. They can help you create the messaging you need for your community. You may find that you need to promote an event, or you need a new flyer, or something needs to be changed on your website. So spread the work around through the college. There's a lot of stakeholders that you can use to leverage this program. And my point is that you're not alone, and you're not completely solely alone responsible for the success of this program. So, don't try to recruit, manage, and deliver the program all by yourself. There's a lot of other people who can help you out.
And I think one of the key things that Melissa said, and all the greatness she said, is that you are not alone. And I know that basically we keep hearing that from a lot of different colleges. And I understand basically, I never tell a person I know how you feel, but I can understand basically from that vantage point and being in the trenches myself of having a small staff trying to deliver certain programs. So again, basically utilize the resources at your college as an extension of your team. They're already connecting with the valuable stakeholders that you want anyway. So look at a way in order to leverage those resources in order to help with the efforts that you are doing for this particular project and beyond. So this is the checklist that I mentioned that we previously talked about, how to map your engagement with internal partners, and basically kind of leans into why they are a stakeholder for this particular initiative, as well as other work-based learning or workforce initiatives. So it's really about making sure whether you use this format or another format or something similar, it's just important to structure and track your progress and your relationship development, and being able to help build that message as to why this person should be invested or why they're an internal stakeholder for this particular initiative. One key thing too that Melissa and Scott and I have talked about, and Andrea too, about and other things, is that if your company does not know, or your organization does not know that it exists, then you're almost kind of shooting yourself in the foot and dead in the water, because you're losing a whole lot of marketing. Someone could call basically and ask for something, and they're going like, we don't do that here, where in reality, you might do that here. So Melissa has a good example on why awareness of your initiative, as well as buy-in from internal partners, are both invaluable in your progress and your success.
Right. So this is an actual situation that happened at Harper College. And I believe Rebecca Lake was at Harper College when this happened. So, you know, when you're out there promoting your program to all the businesses and you're posting with all the chambers of commerce and you know, your ad is on the radio and everyone's talking about it. And then people start to know and they call your college and at that moment in time, who are the people that really need to know about your program? You know, because this is going to, you know, I don't want you to lose credibility, right? So something like this could seriously reduce your credibility for employers and apprentice candidates. But then I guess more importantly, the things that we've already discussed is that everyone needs to be on board to help you deliver this product for your employers. So, you know, don't be the lone champion of the program and seek broad involvement across the college. Internal collaboration is key.
Absolutely. So awareness, awareness, awareness. So now we'll talk a little bit about outreach. And so you've identified your program, who your internal partners or investors should be, the mutual ROI from your partnership. And so now when we're talking about outreach, it's important as you've made a list of your departments or potential investors. I usually create a list, a first level, second level, and third level list. On that first level priority list for outreach, those are my quick wins, meaning that I already have an existing relationship with these particular departments or individuals therein. There'll be ease of collaboration opportunities. We might have already previously collaborated on something, or there's just a good fit for us to partner together on this particular initiative. So this is an easy lift at low-hanging fruit. The second level priority list is relationships that exist but need to be strengthened, or we need to really kind of determine what the ease of collaboration might look like. But that third level priority list for outreach, relationships basically don't clearly exist. There's not really a clear way for identify how to collaborate, or there may be some difficulty in collaboration. So that first level list, career services should be automatically in that first level list and that quick win. They're typically already student facing, have some way that they're communicating about opportunities to students. So partnership, whether it's a 1-person department or it's a 10-person department, it's really about looking at how can this be a quick win. The ROI basically for career services is placement. And guess what? This project is talking placement. So really look at basically where some of that low hanging fruit is, where that second level priority is, and then where that third level where you're going to have to put further investments in getting those collaboration efforts going. Also, basically, it's about looking at, don't reinvent the wheel if it already exists. What I found basically is that we were talking about some of the mobile boards, those internal messaging sites inside of the colleges, or sometimes even outside of the colleges. It was about hunting down who owns that. So some people were saying, oh, it's IT, but then I ended up finding out it was not just IT, but there was another department that I had to go to in order to get IT approval in order to get that done. So why not put my messaging in the rotation of what you guys are already sending out to the students anyway? If there's social media campaigns, see if you could tag along that instead of developing your own. They may already have a broader audience that they're actually pitching this to. Also, basically, whether it's in-class presentations, I know a lot of colleges said that they've already done that, in-class announcements, in-class presentations, email blasts, whatever there is. So really it's about looking and seeing what may be existing to help amplify your outreach efforts and minimize your team's personal efforts in being able to hit the audiences that you're looking for. And then 2, once you've identified what's present, then you can go back and look and see what gaps might we need to fill. So this sounds a little bit about sales, then you're correct. And we've talked about how to sell and pitch things in previous sessions, but this is really about selling to your internal partners and getting them invested in this project and helping this lift for the overall college success. So Scott is going to spend a little bit of time of walking us through some key sales one-on-one concepts and how it relates to internal stakeholder engagement. So Scott?
What's interesting about this is that internal sales is just like external sales. We all have customers, both internally to our business and externally. We talk about this all the time in manufacturing, in that your customer is kind of that next person down the line. But the flip side of that is kind of up the line from you, or upstream from you. You're talking about, you've got to sell to those folks as well. I think that one thing that we're trying to bring across today is, this grant is seed money for you to start something that is positive for your college. And to me, it's positive because it puts the employer first. The most important person in the room on an apprenticeship is employer. And so you want this to be an opportunity for the rest of the college to buy into that idea that we are building people who are going to be a product that's going to employers. It's going to result in jobs. It's going to result in pay, taxpayers, all the good things that go with that. And so you don't want this grant to come to an end in another year and a couple of months, and then it just all goes away. So the best way to do that now is to start to look at internally to the college, who are the people that I should be marketing this to? Who are the folks, much like Melissa said, when somebody answers the phone and says, we don't do apprenticeship here, just because they don't know about it, that means we've missed somebody. We've missed an internal customer or client. And so you're reaching out to them in a variety of different ways, just like you are with customers who are outside. All of these components, when you're talking to the college folks, you're just presenting a different solution, which is, how do I get my people jobs, or how do I connect my people to the businesses that I've already been talking to about buying into this idea? Frequently what you have is that within a community college, you see folks that are like, hey, we're about making better people. We're not about job training, etc. That's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with and help folks to understand that it's much broader than that. That apprenticeship is an answer to connecting the things that they've learned in class, all the theory and all of the liberal arts kinds of things, how that is valuable to somebody in the work world and to help them become a taxpayer. On closing the deal with the folks internally, you're not going to see, numbers jump or something like that. But closing the deal really means that people buy in and that they understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish here by moving people out into the work world and by connecting their learning at school with their work. One of the things that's really great about this, and this is probably a place where we don't do enough conversation with people that are teachers, is when you start to get individuals who are trained at a school, who do on-the-job learning at the job, they start to really desire that next piece of knowledge. They'll come back for school. So you're building a customer who's going to continue to come back to them as well. So the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep reaching back out to the folks that you've talked to at the college. Stay in touch with them. Don't make this a one-off. I came and I talked to you. I told you what was great about apprenticeship, and boom, that's it. End of story. So make sure you're doing that follow-up. Melissa, next slide. Thank you. So when we talk about businesses, we always talk about getting to the decision maker. Unfortunately, I'm not a college person, so I can't necessarily tell you who the most important person is for you to talk to. But I think that you're going to understand when you're talking to the folks at your college, who are the influencers? Who are the ones who everybody listens to? Those are the people that you've got to get to. They're the ones that you have to help to understand that this is not a big deal. This is all about connecting what we teach you to work. It makes our people better. You can speak the language of educators. Somebody who's like me, who has been an employer all their life, we don't do that. Most employers, when they come to schools, and this is what I used to say, all education is job training. That's probably a little too simplistic. And that probably doesn't go over well when you're talking to somebody who's a professor who's put their life into, how do I advance somebody on this particular subject? So you've got to speak their language. You've got to talk to them about, here's the value of what we're doing and how it integrates with what you do. Becoming friends is just, selling is relational. People don't buy from people that they don't like, unless that's the only person who's got the product. So if you can build relationships with people that are at your college, they're going to be interested in what you do. They're going to ask you, what is it that you have to offer, and how can I be helpful to that? So that's really, and this is good life advice. We all know this about anything. If you have a positive relationship with somebody, it's easier to get them to do something that you want them to do. So make sure that they understand where the information is, how to get to it, how to present it to their students, and how it's of value to them. But then most importantly for us, the message here has got to be build something that lasts beyond this grant. This has not been the most fun grant for anybody here. I know we've all struggled with it, but the long and the short of it is that we've sunk a lot of time and a lot of money into something that we don't want it to just die the day that the money turns off. So back to you, Cassandra.
And that is, thank you so much for that, Scott. Really about focusing on the relationship. And one of the ways that basically one person that I know that I had to sell in order to get an initiative off the ground was the academic side. And being a professor, basically, I understand what it's like when someone's going to tell you that they're going to come and do something in your classroom. Your guards automatically go up because you're going like, this is my classroom. I'm responsible for the curriculum. I'm responsible for this. And you want to safeguard basically what's going to be taught to your students. So one way that basically I was able to kind of get past that is that one particular dean who was one of the hardest ones for us to basically to really kind of build some traction with. I ended up finding out that one of her interests basically was cooking. She loves to cook, I love to cook. And so in departmental meeting we had one time, we were talking about, I opened up by talking about recipes. And so she was talking about, oh, what are you cooking new? And so that became part of our conversation every time we met, was about what we're cooking new. And then one time, basically, I told her, next time I cook this, because she loved desserts. My mother was a professional baker. So I told Mom, and she loved crumb cake. I think it was crumb cake or caramel cake or something. So I said, the next time I make one, I'm gonna bring you a slice. Brought it to her. Half an hour later, she calls me and she's like, yeah, that work-based learning thing you've been talking about. She said, come up to my office. You have a moment? Mm-hmm. And so it was one over crumb cake or caramel cake. But it took months, literally months, for me to continue to massage a relationship and for her to realize that I'm not coming in to take over your classrooms. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do basically is really help to bridge that gap for students and for academia, as Scott said, between the learning environment and the work environment. So initially, basically the pitch was, can we bring in some employers basically that fit within this particular curriculum area as subject matter experts, just basically to talk about this one component and why basically that they were hiring students out of the classroom, or why they were wanting to do apprenticeship, or why basically they were taking them on as internships or externships. I said that within itself will actually help students really with retention, because now they're excited. Well, there's actual, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's a job here. Then two, I think it will help the professors see basically kind of like, if this is what we're teaching, can we tweak something perhaps a little differently in order to make sure that it's directly relevant to what employers want to hear now. So it opened up the door. We got into a few classrooms, and then it opened up the door that now professors are buying in and saying, hey, can I get a speaker come in my classroom? The students were kind of raving about it. And to me as a professor, if I can take a day off and have somebody else kind of come in, that I can trust to give a quality presentation that's going to help my students with placement outcomes and retention and whatever, I'm open to that discussion. So it's really about relationship and making it easy, an easy ask. If I say this statement, I'm sure no one will disagree with me. Everyone is busy, including you. So make it easy for them to fill out a form, give it to a student to fill out a form or something based in order to get the information back to you. But it's really about building beyond the relationship, being a good partner and building long-term. So Melissa will talk a little bit about outcomes that create value, and then we'll move on from there.
Right. So, I mean, no one's going to be able to take a successful program and then implement it at your college and everything's going to run perfectly smoothly and all is well. And you're going to, hit some bumps. You're going to have to do some work. It's a long-term game, right? To learn from the things that are your kind of hiccups, to build the partnerships, to work with your faculty, all of that partnership building is going to pay off in the long run, because ultimately the outcomes of the apprenticeship program are going to create the value that you're looking for in the first place, right? So when you create a partnership with an employer, you can make a video with their employer at their place of business. That's going to reinforce your partnership with them. And then all the reasons that you wanted to create this program in the first place is to build a program for your college that increases enrollment, retention, graduation, and generally boosts the reputation of the college. That's going to happen along the way of building the apprenticeship program. So, keeping your data is critical. It's going to feed into the social media posts that you can post about your apprentices working. That's going to promote your college. These are things that are internally valuable to the college, right? Those become your human interest stories. They create your numbers. The numbers are the outcomes that you're looking for. All of those outcomes are actually the value of the program. So all the data that you've collected from the beginning, the number of apprentices trained, the retention, graduation, the numbers of businesses you're partnered with, your demographics, those are all outcomes of the program that can help you tell your story. And then the rest of the college internally and other businesses will be attracted to the program because they know about your successes. So I'm going to turn it back over to Cassandra to wrap us up.
Absolutely. And I think that something that Melissa just said that was key was really about leveraging success and touting your success. How did we get Pepsi in the room? It's because we got Coca-Cola and we were successful with Coca-Cola. How did we get FedEx in the room? Because we got UPS and we told the success story of UPS. Everyone loves a good success story. And everyone loves basically to be acknowledged for their great work, whether that's your internal partners or your external partners. So what we did was actually developed a newsletter at one college I was working at. And so we highlighted success stories of our internal staff, taking pictures, basically if your professor helped you get a job, basically, or internship or whatever that might be, or even if they did not, but they were part of your classroom, come take a picture. Let's all take a picture together, posting that in newsletters or on websites, and making sure that it was a good celebration and feel good moment. So people feel good about the work that they do. All of us, we work hard. And we're in workforces because we believe in higher education, because we believe that basically this is a good sustainable pathway for people to succeed in the workforce. So we want to make sure that we are building relationships that are sustainable, and really tying back our initiatives to overall organization success and the success of that one shared mission. So with that, we are done. So thank you for your time. You have any questions, comments? How basically are you guys finding? We have 3 minutes. How are you finding things that are working at your institutions? Can this resonate with any of you? So in the last couple minutes that we have.
This is Ruben. Let me just say thanks, Cassandra and team. That was a great presentation. I think for me, it's the continuous contact with the employer and finding that common thread is just the main aspect of staying connected.
Absolutely. And Dr. Rubin and I know each other from a previous life of working together. And so I can actually say that that's one key thing that was instrumental in our success together, was really about looking for the benefit, that mutually beneficial ROI, and building upon that so that relationship can really build. Other comments, thoughts?
This is Amanda Cost from Kishwaukee College. One challenge that we've noticed with the internal stakeholders is as enrollment declines, community colleges are getting smaller in staff. And whenever staff numbers get smaller, the number of duties per staff member grow. So, we've been noticing that when we're trying to network with people within the college, we have to be kind of mindful that they have their hands in multiple pots. So just be mindful of their time. So maybe we have to touch them a few more times than normal to kind of remind them, or maybe seeing if we can braid any services. So that way they're getting their goals met and we're getting our goals met, and then everyone wins in the end.
That is perfectly stated, Amanda. It's really about being conscious of what's on each other's plate. but then 2, about how can we help lift? Why duplicate services if we can actually work together at this and lighten all of our load? So that is perfectly set. Okay, we are at time. Thank you guys so much. We would love basically to continue conversation. If you guys have any questions, we are available.
Okay, so I think that pretty well wraps us up for today. Thank you, JFF, for all that great information. And if anybody, remember your quarterly reports are due the end of April. If you've got any questions while you're plugging in data, please feel free to reach out to Levon or I or Todd, and we'll help you figure out what's going on. And enjoy spring. Thanks all.